Am I the asshole for suggesting to my daughter-in-law that she leaves my son? Please understand the context before judging. My son is a healthy 30-year-old and his wife, Alexa, 28, has a chronic illness. She has a lot of pain and she has good days and bad days. It's not like she's bedridden or can't do anything, but there are limits. There is no cure for this illness. The condition can only be managed. She was diagnosed about 3 years ago now. My son now spends a lot of his time taking care of Alexa, researching about her condition and arranging their lives around trying different types of ways to manage her condition. They have been together since high school, and I know that my son loves her to bits. I'm also really fond of her myself and would love to see her doing better. But the undeniable reality is that this is really affecting my son in a negative way. He isn't as carefree and happy as he used to be, which I understand is part of just being an adult as well, but he's just so worn down and not himself a lot of the time. I brought this up and also brought up carer's fatigue to him, and also broached the subject of possibly starting to resent Alexa in the future. My son was initially very defensive, but then I think him and Alexa discussed and they started seeing a counselor that specializes in this kind of situation. However, I just hate seeing him waste away like this, and I tried to gently suggest to him many times that it might be best if he separate from Alexa, but keep supporting her as a friend rather than spend the rest of his life living like this. He did not like that at all, got very upset, and the last time I brought this up, he threatened to stop talking to me at all if I keep suggesting this. I only do so because I care about him. I know he's trying to do the right thing and be noble, and he's optimistic that they are going to find a treatment plan that works well enough for her to function normally. But of course, there's no guarantee, and with the way things went last year, it just got me thinking how we really need to treasure life. So this time, instead of bringing this up to my son, I brought it up to Alexa and suggested that she leave my son. She was really shocked at first, but she also cried and said she does feel like a burden. But then she kept repeating how much she loves my son and couldn't leave him even if she does feel selfish. I told her to think about it, and I thought that'd be the end of that, but I guess she told my son because he called me and was so angry. Spoke through gritted teeth and told me to stop making his wife feel like shit and putting ideas into her head, as if she's a toddler. He's also called my husband and asked him to speak to me and get me to be more respectful of his decisions or he won't talk to me anymore. I just feel so badly about the whole thing, but I also do feel that as his mother, I need to try to at least get him to see the options and get him to truly enjoy his life. But I understand I might have overstepped. Am I the asshole?
Yes.
Absolutely.
What? Like, this is love. You choose love, and your son is choosing to be in love with. Like, you don't get to choose who you fall in love with, but love is a choice because it's an act every single day to continue to make the relationship work.
Yes.
In this sense, he actively chooses to look past the downfalls and maybe the fatigue of, like, the fatigue they talk about, caregivers fatigue. This is his choice. He wants this for himself because he loves this person so much. And he's going to do whatever it takes to be with this person. And that's his decision to make. And to plant these seeds in his head is so cruel and unfair. I think that's such an asshole move.
Yeah.
Like, this is your son. He can make his own decisions and he loves her. And people sometimes choose to stay with people who have terminal illnesses. And they know that that person's going to probably not live very long. And they know they're about to encounter enormous heartbreak. But you don't get to tell that person that you can't love them and that it's too hard to love them and it's too difficult and too much on you. Your son wants to do this. So
he's choosing that.
Yeah, it's almost like offensive to tell him that he can't handle it.
No, and just because someone has a chronic illness or a disability or, whatever else it may be, it doesn't make their life any less meaningful or, enjoyable while they're here. Yeah, it might be a little tougher.
Yeah.
They might have pain. Things might be more difficult for them.
Right.
But they can still have a meaningful, happy life.
Yeah, and this makes her feel like chopped liver. Like, you're not worth love. You're not worth the effort. You're not worth him staying for. Like, what?
What? Like, a lot of people, do write their own vows. But when you get married, if you did the traditional vow, in sickness and in health.
Yeah.
What the fuck, lady?
Exactly. This is such a fucked up move for so many reasons, but that makes me feel so icky for this person.
It's terrible.
For this couple, I guess. I should
Toxic
say.
ass mom.
So toxic. She needs to back off. Her son is doing his best. And if this is what he chooses and it's a struggle every fucking day, he chose that struggle and he loves this struggle.
And you don't know what it is. Like you know, there's not a lot of info for me to even like try to deduce what it is.
Right.
But it's like she's young, could be MS,
Yeah.
could be a number of things. But there's treatment methods that work. And if they just found this out recently, it takes time to find the right cocktail, the right, you know, group of therapies or medicines. Like it's a time process, but it doesn't always have to be this bad.
Yeah. And
depending on what it is. Like you don't know. She didn't give us a lot of info.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't think you get to back out of something because you think it's too difficult. Like it's like having a child and the child has Down syndrome or the child has some type of like, you know, illness or something that they have to live with.
Mm-hmm.
And to say you put the child up for adoption because it's too hard. It's too much stress on you. It's just, it's wearing me down. I'm not as happy as I used to be. Of course, you're maybe like dealing with some things because this is a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah.
But that's saying to the child, you're not worth the extra work.
Yeah.
Not worth the extra love and work that I have to put into you.
Mm-hmm.
That's when she called her up and said, you should leave my son. It's like,
such a boundary
you're not worth
crossed.
it. Like you're just not.
No.
I don't know.
No, and I think she should have taken the hints from the fact that it didn't go over well with her son.
Yes.
That's your son. Okay.
Yes.
If you want to say your fucking out of pocket comments to your son, that's on you and being a shitty fucking mom.
Yeah, exactly.
But to then approach your daughter-in-law, no. Keep that shit to yourself.
You've just damaged your relationship with probably both your son and your daughter-in-law.
Both.
Yeah. No, you're the asshole for sure. No doubt.
Definitely got the overall vote.
Yes. Okay, good.
Top comment. You're the asshole. Stay out of his relationship.
Yes.
If I find out about this, I'd never talk to you again. Someone goes, I might have overstepped. Might. What about his reaction gives you an idea that you might have overstepped? Maybe he should cut contact with you completely. Maybe then you'd realize what you did was wrong.
Yeah.
Being a parent does not give you the right to plow through boundaries set by your son.
Agreed. Your son, he said what he said. Like he didn't stutter. He said what he said. So take it for what it is.
Someone comments, you're the asshole. What would happen if roles were reversed and your son was the one with the chronic illness? And OP replies, if I'm being very honest, I think I would tell Alexa the same thing, even though it would hurt me to suggest so.
I think it's easy to say now, but I don't know. I mean, maybe she genuinely is like, believes that. I don't know.
Yeah. Someone replies back to OP and go, you fundamentally don't understand what love is, do you?
Yeah.
Because from everything you've said, the answer is no.
Yeah. It's like, oh, it's inconvenient. It's tough. It's a struggle. Oops. Can't do it anymore. Love is unconditional.
Yeah. Well, and this is something that's very interesting that points me to believe she's probably a narcissist, is for narcissistic parents, love isn't unconditional.
I know.
It's very conditional.
Yeah.
And like for some of these narcissistic parents, they look at their child as an extension of themselves. And so for her, in her eyes, her son is an extension of her.
Yeah.
She wants her son to have the very best.
Right.
So having a wife with a chronic illness is not the very best for her son.
Right.
So,
and then also in narcissistic relationships, like they actually tend to view their partners as sources. And so if she's looking at it from that perspective, like this is a weak source because they can only give you so much.
Yep.
And they're taking more than they're giving. And you know, this is the perspective of a
Yeah.
narcissist. And so it's like this, if that's true, then from a narcissistic perspective, it's like people are expendable if they're no longer an ideal source.
Yep.
And so she's maybe seeing it that way too, is like, this isn't love. It's like you said, it's conditional and they're not following through. This is a source that I don't need. You can go get a better source.
yeah. Just, yeah, you've so well said. I think, and there's a difference between like being a narcissist and then having narcissistic personality disorder. Like they're two very different things. But like in this woman's case, it's like something's definitely off.
Yeah, I definitely don't know if I got enough from it to think she's a narcissist, but that's like a theory. Like,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know?
just based on her responses too,
Yeah.
it's like she looks at him.
She has a distorted view of love.
Definitely. And maybe it's just like she disassociates from it and looks at relationships very source-based and very, what can you do for me? And if it's not benefiting me, which is another narcissistic trait, like
Right.
you said, it's along these same lines where it's like, if that person isn't benefiting you, you don't interact with them anymore.
Exactly. But there's also this crazy theory, and this is like the very like little bit more far-fetched one, where she's actually just so obsessed with her son and so like loves her son so much, because she loves her son more than the daughter-in-law. That's very clear. And it could be, like I said, this is the far-fetched theory, that she really genuinely doesn't see how out of pocket she's being. She's just like, I want the best for my son. And I genuinely see him so worn down and so fatigued, and just like, this isn't like, because no parent wants to see their son or their kid struggle. And so maybe she's just getting her own in her own way and being like, I see these things for my son, and I don't know what to do, but I want to make it go away. And I'm not even thinking about what the implications of that are. And I don't even think about how like insensitive and inappropriate that is. I'm just focused on how can I make my son feel better? How can I how can I relieve my son of this quote unquote obligation of taking care of her, even though he doesn't see it that way. He's like, no, I love this woman.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you really care, step up to help.
Exactly.
Take her to doctor's appointments. Step in when your son needs a break. And there's also, you know, for those out there listening, there's also like different agencies and services that provide respite care. So if like you're a caregiver of someone and you really, really need a break, or you need to run errands, there's respite care where someone will come in and help. There's ways to cope with stuff like this. So it's like, the fact that the first instinct is to like divorce her and support her as a friend.
Yeah, so true.
Fuck off, lady.
So insensitive.
So insensitive.